Good evening. My name is Fred Rundle. I'm the superintendent of our school district. Hopefully I've met many of you who are joining us online tonight. Tonight is our opportunity just to provide a kind of mid-cycle update on where we are with our PE, our health, and our summer school reviews. We're going to cover a number of topics tonight, everything from why we even do reviews to what are the implications to courses. We know lots of things are discussed or there's lots of interest in this. And so hopefully we all leave with just a better understanding of where we are, what we plan on doing, what we plan on not doing, and then some timelines along the way. Tonight I'm joined by two of our great colleagues, two directors in our school district. We have Director Jamie Prescott, come on in, Jamie. And we have Director Andres Ronzer. Andres, you want to talk a little bit about your role in the district? Then we'll turn it over to Jamie.
Sure. My name is Andres Ronzer. I'm the technology director for the district. I've been here since 2012, but for the past year and a half, I've been working with our fine arts staff, just helping to support them and be a liaison for our administration.
Great. And Jamie.
So I've been here as an educator since 2002. I graduated from here, so I'm a longtime Islander. I taught English, journalism, and leadership here at the high school for 12 years. I was an AP here for 6, and then I've been in my role with the district office as the director of learning services, focused in secondary for the last 6 years.
Great. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So one of the things I was asked to speak about was what are the curriculum and program reviews and why do we have them? How often and why do we do them? We, per our board policy, have to do annual reviews. With COVID, we hit a little bit of a bump. We got off of a typical cycle, but every year we have programs under review. For example, last year we wrapped up a 5-year math review for our high school math curriculum adoption. We did a year-long biology review last year. So we are always looking at programs and looking to ensure that we're meeting our students' needs, that our programs are aligned with state standards and curricular standards. And this year, specifically, we're reviewing our summer school PE and health courses, in addition to a number of others, but these 3 in particular, because they seem to have a lot of crossover. The interest in PE and health courses has a direct correlation to our summer school enrollment and vice versa. And so it was a natural fit. In addition to those, one other piece that fits into this is our ALE and online learning. And those reviews are also underway. Additionally, other reviews that were underway right now are a 6-8 science review, an ALE online, 5-8 high cap identification review process because the legislature changed how we need to identify universally students in grades 5. And I think I'm missing one, but I think there's 7 different reviews underway right now. This just happens to be 3 of them, the PE, health, and summer school. So what are our interests as we review PE, health, and summer school? One, as we do in all curricular areas, we want to maintain the highest academic standards as a district. We want to provide rigorous and challenging learning for all of our students. We want to keep focused on the whole child. We provide a comprehensive high school and middle school opportunity for students, and so there are lots of different courses and activities for them to pursue. We want to create a personalized learning environment where differentiated instruction, student-centered education, and varied learning opportunities are responsive to students' strengths, needs, interests, and passions. And then we also have the accreditation and compliance piece. We got to make sure that we maintain our accreditation and we comply with state law. So what are our students' interests as we review PE, health, and summer school? These are things that we've heard in our superintendent teaching and learning advisory. As we talk with students, we meet with high school staff, high school administrators, and counselors. What we've heard is that the interest from students is to fulfill graduation requirements, to provide opportunities to open up and take other classes during the school year, to allow for possible off periods during the year, and then flexibility in scheduling. Who is participating in the reviews and how? So we have administrators and teachers who serve on the review committees. And these groups meet, we've got a schedule lined out, we meet pretty regularly and discuss the issues, the topics, the questions, the end goal. We review standards, we review any changes in law. And then we seek parent and student input through typically surveys and information. And in fact, we have several surveys that are going to be coming out in mid-March, where parents and students will have the opportunity to provide input. So some terms, laws, and grad requirements. In here linked are the PE, health, and fine arts grad requirements done by the state. So that's 24 core credits or 24 credits need to be earned. There's credit retrieval. So this is really the core of our summer school model. When we offer summer school, the primary purpose is to allow students who, for a variety of reasons, have not earned a credit. So maybe they attempted a course or they weren't able to attempt a course, but they need that credit in order to matriculate and move on in their high school career and reach graduation. So credit recovery is the core of summer school. Around that, we've built other opportunities based on student interest. So we have a special interest course called Moral Choices, and that's a social studies elective course that students take. It doesn't meet any of the graduation requirements except for an elective credit, but it is a course that's offered during the summer, and that's something we've built around those credit retrieval courses. We've also then offered PE and health, and to make sure that I'm super clear, we will continue to offer PE and health during summer school. It just might look slightly different. Other pieces, college credit. So we do offer what we call dual credit. It's been called dual credit for a long time. It's been confusing for our families and students because they think it might earn 2 different credits at the same time. And really dual credit means college credit. So courses like AP Environmental Science, you can earn 5 college credits through an affiliation with one of our local colleges, in addition to your high school credit towards a science lab. Then we've got directed athletics that comes into the conversation. That's how our students who participate in athletics and activities here at the high school receive, I believe it's a 0.5 credit per season right now for participation in a school-sponsored sport or an outside activity that's approved by the principal. And then linked in here is the newly revised IMS PE waiver. Again, that opportunity is also not going away. And I will get into that a little bit later and share some more about it. But ultimately, the waiver process still exists. It's just coming in line with compliance with the law, with the RCWs that guide the work that we do, and provide a little more accountability where our teachers can understand what it is students are choosing to do with their time outside of it, so that we can be responsive to the offerings that we provide in the school day.
Just a couple of questions maybe that could be coming in at home would be, how many PE credits does a high schooler need to earn? How many health credits and how many fine arts credits?
So PE students need 1.5 credits, which in our semester system, that's 1 full year. So 2 semesters plus a semester. Many of our students, I can't say all, many of our students earn the directed athletics credit for up to 1.0 PE credits, and then they take 0.5 PE. Then there's a 0.5 health requirement as a grad requirement. And then there's 2.0 fine arts grad requirements, and that can be met in a variety of courses, including music courses, drama courses, ceramics, jewelry, photography.
And on the directed athletics, can you, I need a reminder on this one too. How many directed athletics credits can a student earn? They have to get 1.5 PE credits. How many of those can be directed athletics? It can't be all of them. 1.0, okay.
So it's essentially 2 seasons. So it could be the same year, 2 seasons, but a student has to complete the entire season.
And then the remaining 0.5 has to be taken as a PE class.
Just to clarify, there are no alternatives to say like a fine arts credit. So we have a 2.0 requirement there that students have to meet. So we can't, there's not an alternate opportunity for that.
We go back 1 slide. I had a question on, the survey for parents and students, that'll come out
March 11th.
March 11th, and then we'll send that out through, Ian's gonna blast it out through everyone.
Yep,
Okay.
so it'll be on social media, on the website. Students will receive it from 6th through 12th grade in their Schoology. It'll be blasted out. It'll happen in Gator Time and Islander Hour. They'll hear it on the morning announcements. So really trying to get, and there really are two different surveys coming out. We met as a team today, talking about whether or not we wanted to have one survey or two, and really there are two distinct surveys happening. One is our 6-12 PE offerings, one is summer school. And so we hope that people will respond to both. There is a little bit of crossover. We're going to share that data with the two different review groups, but there are some really specific questions about PE offerings and health offerings and summer school opportunities.
All right.
So March 11th to the 18th is going to be like that window of time to get input back to us.
Those are the two thoughts I have.
Okay.
So just kind of going back and forth, we have some questions that we know that have come forward before. We're going to try to answer those in the next couple of slides. We will also have time at the end for the questions that are coming in. We have two tremendous volunteers here. We had three, but one had to run, and they're helping to populate some of those questions. But if we just start off, Jamie, what are the current practices for IMS in terms of PE? How do students earn credit in PE and IMS right now?
So right now, all sixth grade students enroll in PE, sixth grade PE. And just to clarify, PE is not an elective at the middle school level, it's a core course. So according to the state, all students K-8 need to have a certain number of minutes of PE every week. In sixth grade, our students all take PE. In seventh and eighth grade, there has been and will continue to be a waiver opportunity where students who might be pursuing other interests can waive PE. It has to meet one of three criteria. So there is a religious exemption, there's a disability exemption, and then there's a directed athletic exemption. And so students can qualify in any of those areas. They indicate that on the form, we collect that, and then we know why students are electing to waive PE. We keep that waiver, and then students are able to select other courses. So 7th and 8th graders can still take PE at the middle school, and they just have to choose whether or not they want to.
And so the next question is where are you with the committee that you're chairing with IMS PE going forward? I know you've said a couple times we're not changing that, but what is it going to look like, or what was the reasoning behind what you were looking at?
So on the old form, it was really just a signature, and it said I'm waiving out of PE. Per the RCW, it states that there are 3 reasons why a student can waive out of PE, and we were not in compliance with that. And so we modified the form, we listed the RCW for families, we listed the 3 ways that a student, or reasons why they would opt out of PE and waive out of it. People need to check that box, and then turn that form in, and then we're able to track over time what students are doing. Part of that piece is if they're selecting directed athletics, then let's say majority of the students who are choosing that are interested in martial arts. Well, that's great information and data for our PE department to know, because they may want to embed more of that type of activity into their courses to meet student interests. But it doesn't mean that they cannot do martial arts. They can still absolutely do that. But it means that they're getting that opportunity elsewhere.
I think one of the things, just to clarify, it's a challenge that we have is having only a 6-period day in our middle school. I think after you take out the 4 cores of our English language arts, social studies, science, and math, you're only left with 2 electives. And I know that a number of students want to take a language sometimes in middle school, and others want to take a fine art. And so if we're looking at that and then say we also have PE, I think that's why maybe some people have taken it. And so what I hear you say, and what I've heard you say along the way is, we're just trying to create a form that captures more of the spirit of the accountability, that if a student is waiving out of PE, they are still actually accounting for minutes and active in the way that we need to, also if we're audited or how we need to report back to the state.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will add that, so you listed 4 core, right? PE is actually the 5th core.
5th core.
Right? It's the only core subject that students can waive out, right? So I know sometimes we conflate electives, but in K-8, PE is not optional. So we offer, we're one of the only middle schools that offers a waiver option. to allow that because our student interests and needs and our community needs have required it.
Next question then, current practice, I know there's been questions of, what does summer school health and PE look like right now currently?
So I'll talk about what it looked like pre-COVID, what it looked like during COVID and up till now, and kind of then we can talk about potential changes. So pre-COVID, students had to, they kept a log, and I'm going to talk specifically about PE, health is slightly different. Students had an activity log, they met with their instructor, they came in person, they had to meet weekly with an instructor for a scheduled period of time every week. Of the 6 weeks of summer school, they had to be in person for 5, they could do 1 remotely if they had a scheduled, they were sick, they had a planned absence, etc. one of those 5 weeks. So they kept an activity log, they met weekly about that with the teacher in person. When COVID hit and students were scrambling to stay connected to school, to finish off requirements, to get courses completed that they could while there was a mixture of school closures, hybrid, etc. We opened up our flexibility, we turned to Zoom, we allowed students to check in via Zoom, continue with the log piece, then even post-COVID as students were returning, we allowed that to continue. Ultimately, there's a lot of disengagement, and we don't feel everywhere from the high school administrators to the instructors in that course, like we do not feel that we are currently meeting the state requirements, and for sure not the standards set forth for PE courses through the current summer school model, because students were online for 5 minutes, checking in, showing a log, and checking out. So we know that was one of the impetuses of adding summer school to the conversation this year for reviews, was that when Mr. Wold, our principal, signs off as students earning an MIHS diploma, it means that they've met the rigorous standards and things set forth by the state and by our own district. And we know that summer school PE was not meeting that.
And how about health?
Similarly with health had some additional curriculum to it, whereas PE had just a checklist and an activity log. Health did have a few assignments, but we are in the process of needing to revamp that as well. There have been some things about sex ed that have come down from the legislature that we need to add into there as well. So we just need to make sure that we're aligned with state standards and the curriculum we present during summer school.
Got it. So just like we took a look at what's potential changes, where are you with the committee in terms of this? I know you're not as far as down the road as the IMSPE piece, but where are you now with that?
So we know that our banks of the river are that we will offer summer school health and PE. What we have not yet finalized is what that will look like. For sure, there's going to be an in-person component. We have to shift back from that COVID remote opportunity. We've done that with all of our other courses here at the high school. So that being the outlier, students, there will be a requirement to meet in person. It will be more robust than just a 5-minute check-in with a staff member, but we don't yet have exactly what that looks like because summer school is on a condensed timeline. We have typically only met for 6 weeks. Then students have additional work they do during the month of August, and then they submit their final work in September at the start of school. So we're not looking to extend summer school for a variety of reasons beyond that 6-week period, but the time required to meet or work directly with an instructor might change within that 6-week period.
Next one, I think, gets into directed athletics. Currently, what is the practice for directed athletics? And then the corollary question to that obviously is going to be, where are we in thinking about what that looks like in the future?
So currently, students who participate in athletics here at the high school, if they start and complete a season as signed off by their coach, they are awarded, regardless of level, could be C team, JV, or varsity. If they complete the season, they earn 0.5 credits for every season they complete.
And that's a pass fail. Is that how that works?
It is a pass fail.
Okay.
Yep, it's a credit, no credit. You either do or don't get it. I should go back and say summer school, health and PE are the same way. They are only pass fail. No letter grades given. So for high school directed athletics, you complete a season up to 1.0 credits. There are, for any sport that is not, for sports that are not offered by the school, or if a student is cut from a sport offered at the school. So let's say, there's a boys soccer player, and we have so many boys to try out for the high school soccer team, there are some cuts. There might be a group of them who choose to form a rec team and continue playing. We don't want them to lose out on that athletic opportunity. So we will give directed athletic credit because they tried out and did not make that team here at the high school. So moving forward, what do I see as far as changes? We've been looking at what all other neighboring districts are doing. We've been looking and to see guidance from the state. We've been looking at what our coaches, our athletic director, our administrative team, what do they feel constitutes directed athletic credit? What does it mean to complete a season? How often does that mean that the team or the athlete is engaging in physical activity? How often are they meeting? And so they're working on that under the direction of our athletic director and principal Nick Wold. And then once we have established the criteria for earning directed athletics credit, either for an in-school sport or activity or an out-of-school sport activity, then any other groups or things that want to seek that will use those criteria as a rubric to evaluate. And
so I think kind of going off of that and hearing the conversations a little bit, some of the questions have been around, right now it's basically directed athletics is around some athletic sanctioned sport or activity.
Or cheer,
drill, some of those.
Something that's doesn't count, esports.
Okay.
It has sport in the title, but is not athletic.
Gotcha. And so the one that's come up obviously from our performing arts community is especially around marching band. And, there are some examples of marching band being offered. It hasn't been a credit for us. What I hear you say, but clarify, is that once we set the directed athletics criteria, then a marching band or other activity could also then say, we think we meet this, and all of our current athletics will have to also demonstrate they're meeting that same piece, whether or not that's water polo or gymnastics, whatever that might be.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. And marching band isn't the only group that's approached us to say, hey, we might be interested in this. There's opportunities that people are trying to explore and wanting for alternative learning experiences, things that don't fit into a term of athletics at all. And so how might we get creative? And so one of the things we've said consistently is once we've established what it looks like to earn directed athletics credit, then any opportunity can be vetted through that lens. And then there's consistency in how we apply it, both with our internal sports and activities and external activities. I will say we do have one of the most generous directed athletics credits that available. Lots of districts nearby award 0.25 credits for a season. So a student would need to do complete four athletic seasons to get that same amount that we allow in 1 year.
The next and final question then on this particular one are there any credit implications that you can think of or timelines that your team can, or that you could share about the timelines you're working on? I think the credit implications really stems around if I am a middle school student and I've already used the waiver this year, like, do I still get credit for that waiver or not? Or if I am a student and I've already taken PE last summer for credit, if we have a new type of class, do I still get that credit or does it change? I think there were a lot of questions around that.
So whatever has happened in the past and has been awarded, because at the time you do the best you do until you know better, and then you do better. So whatever has been established, credits that have been earned, those remain intact. So no opportunity will go away from a student who's already completed something. As far as credit implications and timelines, anything that's happened previously, it has already happened. We would not retroactively go back and change it. Something that might change would be, so a student is a current junior and they want to take summer school PE. they would take the summer school PE that is offered this year. They wouldn't take what was offered last year.
And timelines for this, that could happen as early as this summer, in terms of some of these changes, directed athletics and some of these other things, maybe a little later. What are you thinking right now, or is it too early to tell?
So,
I won't hold you to it, just where are we?
summer school opportunities, never open until, April. So we are gonna work right up till that deadline when we publish and post information about summer school to families. We will have everything wrapped up by then. So we have a number of meetings scheduled, in the next 6 to 8 weeks, prior to opening up summer school registration, so that people know exactly what it is they're registering for, what the time commitment will be, what the expectation will be. And our teachers will know too, as they're, offering to teach summer school. You know, summer school courses are offered based on staff willingness to teach them. So summer school is not part of basic ed. We don't receive any funding for it. It is completely self-run, self-funded. So our tuition that we charge is what pays. So the number of enrollments that we have are a direct reflection of the staffing we can have. As mentioned in one of the earlier slides, our primary function is for credit retrieval and students who failed courses. And so that's the first thing we need to staff. And then beyond that, if we've got staff who are qualified and willing to teach other courses, then we can offer them. But we gotta have staff willing to do it. So timelines, yes, for summer school, any changes to, again, no changes to the fact that PE and health will be offered. Any changes to what that looks like as far as expectations will be published before a student ever signs up for a course.
Next slide.
And then directed athletics, if
yes.
any changes happen, it won't affect spring season this year. It would be for next year. And it may take some time to vet all of our school programs and activities. I think there are going to be some based on whatever the criteria, it's going to take some time to work through. So it might be for next year, it might be the year after.
So I'll just ask you questions here. These were questions that we kind of came up with because we weren't sure if our slide deck would cover everything. And then judging by the questions that have been coming in, I think we'll even have some more. But a couple that came in, and this was actually from a student, you kind of touched on these, but will it be possible to gain PE and health credit over the summer without checking in person each week if you're on vacation or away? I heard you kind of answer that, but maybe just touch on it one more time.
Sure. So part of it is yes and no. We won't be able to do the Zoom, touch base once a week for 10 minutes like that. That piece is going to go away. We know that does not meet state standards. It's not the intent of the flexibility. It does not align with the rigorous courses that we offer here at the school, and what constitutes an MIHS diploma. So no, it will not be as passive as it's been in the past, but we still understand that people make plans and students have philanthropic activities, jobs, vacations and things like that. So I anticipate it will be more like the pre-COVID, where of the 6 weeks, there might be 1 week that you don't need to check in or attend class, but we would outline that flexibility in the course catalog for summer school when students register.
And just as a quick reminder, because you made me think of this, especially with the cold weather, and hopefully we're not going to get any of the white stuff. I'm reminded oftentimes by OSPI that, I get questions from families around, if we have a snow day, why can't we just go, onto our laptops, or why can't we just go on to Zoom before? And the OSPI has been pretty clear that you have to meet a number of requirements in order for that to count as a school day. They've made it next to impossible to be able to pull that off. So I hear what you're saying about we need to be, that asynchronous time, we already probably pushed the limit on that a little bit with our August piece. So the in-person there sounds like.
And I want to make sure that it's not that we're trying to be inflexible, right? Summer school's only 6 weeks of the summer. But there is a core expectation, just like we wouldn't say for, if we were to start offering a fine arts credit during the summer, we wouldn't say you need to only play your instrument and show your instructor 1 time a week or just via Zoom, right? That's not the same. It's not comparable to receiving instruction and working directly with an instructor in that discipline.
So keep it, but it's gotta be more rigorous and it's gotta meet the expectations. How much does it cost
$375.
per course? So
Per course.
375 for PE and 375 for, if you were to do them.
Yep, and based on the timing, and remember, if for a 0.5 credit, that's equivalent to 90 hours of a course that we have during the regular school year. So 90 hours in 6 weeks is a lot of time. We don't anticipate, that's why we extend into, we do have some asynchronous opportunities in the month of August, but it is why we don't allow students to take more than 2 courses in summer school each year because it's just not possible to put in the time and effort comparable to anything we do at the high school in 90 hours in that short period of time.
Another question is it pass fail or how is that? I think you kind of answered that. That's the way that the summer school piece is typically done. And then obviously, yes, 24 and beyond, we will have options. For directed athletics, who makes the decisions on whether or not a sport or activity earns a PE credit? It sounds like it might change a little bit because we're going to actually have kind of a rubric or whatnot in the future. But as of now, how do we handle it?
At the end of the day, it is principal Nichols.
Good.
So the authority rests with the principal. It has insight, just like we do when a student wants to receive credit for a math course, an English course. Nick doesn't operate in a vacuum or in isolation. He works then with the department chair, with the instructors of that subject to say, does this look like it meets the requirements of your content area? Because we have content experts in each of our fields. Teachers are required to have endorsements in specific areas. And by having that endorsement, they've received training and are professionals in that given arena. And so although it's Nick's signature on the form that says, yes, I agree, this person earned this credit, there is input from coaches, from the athletic director along the way, just like there are in other content areas.
And this is what the athletic director is looking into in Kinko and others as to, how are other school districts doing this? Yep. We talked a little bit about this marching band not being offered yet as a directed athletic or whatnot. It hasn't come through a process before it was brought forward. We were then in the midst of the review. And so as soon as that criteria is set, then directed athletics for not just marching band, but you mentioned that some others.
Yep.
Great. Those are the main pieces of our presentation. Couple things before we get into the questions. Want to thank RJ behind the camera, who's always helping us out. And then the people you can't see, but who have been collating questions that we're going to get to here in a second. Want to thank Leslie Kinder and Gwen Loosemore and Michael Lill for coming in and helping us with our being moderators. So let's go ahead and start with here. Jamie, can you just touch again on what was the purpose of the review for PE health and summer school or the objectives as you set it out?
Part of it is they had not been reviewed in at least 6, if not 10 years. So there had been a lengthy period of time where we had not reviewed those particular content areas. So, or program offerings. So it was time to do that. As we started, we were first going to start with summer school. As we started talking about summer school and initial planning for that review, immediately PE and health rose to the surface as an area of interest and a need to align because what we do in summer school needs to align with what we do in the school year and vice versa.
And then another one is that you touched a little bit on, completion of the review. Having done these reviews myself, sometimes feels like they're never done. The math one went on for 5 years. And so I know that that's a little bit of a loaded question as to, is it really ever done? But in general, where do you think this will be, in a year from now or at the end of this year?
So I think our summer school review will be done this year by early April. And then once we complete a review, we then review the review for a series of years. Just making sure that whatever changes or things we've implemented are working and are continuing to meet the compliance pieces, the stated goals, etc. For health and PE, I believe that one will be finished at least by the end of June. So we are continuing to work on that. The IMS piece is really complete. So the waiver is updated. There is a video. Students start registering the next week or the week after, I
I
believe.
think it's next week.
And so with that, there's a video that explains to students what the waiver is, how to complete it. It'll be shared with families as well. So that piece is already complete. I'm trying to think what's the third. There's health, PE, summer school, and health. So health, we're kind of pulling away from the PE review specifically because health needs to talk a little bit about curriculum, specifically at the high school level. So that piece separate from PE, health, and summer school is going to be starting here in the month of March, looking for some new curricular resources.
Great. Let's see, who will be making the decisions on the potential changes? Like, who are all of the decision makers that are involved?
So it really depends on what specific you're speaking of. You know, when it comes to summer school, there is a committee. So it's myself. There's administrators from both middle and high school. There's counselors from middle and high school. There are teachers. There's a counselor. There's a coach. Like we've got a variety of people. It's not a complete like one-to-one vote, but it really we work to reach consensus so that the entire team feels comfortable with whatever the changes are and that they're meeting the intent and need.
And I don't know if it's a question on here, but I think something that might come to mind is how will the surveys influence the process after they close in mid-March or whatnot going forward?
So we have meetings scheduled specifically to review data. So once we receive the information, then we're going to spend some time pouring through it. We've got some experts who serve on the team who are really big into analyzing data and can help us with that process as well. You know, it doesn't mean that just because somebody says X, we're going to do X, but knowing what people value, knowing what they want, what level of feedback we receive will help shape opportunities. You know, we have to have some banks of the river. It can't be that PE is just assigned form. Like when we talk about high school graduation requirements, the state outlines requirements. There are standards that we have to meet. And so we can't go do away with those, just like we can't do away with English standards or math standards. So just because something is stated doesn't mean we can do it, but we can hear what the intent is. Like it's flexibility, or it's creating opportunities in my schedule. It's allowing me to pursue a passion. So we can work to provide opportunities to meet those needs, but it may not be in the way that somebody says, this is my idea, therefore you should adopt it.
Great. Let's see what other questions we have up here. Let's go with, when you say the IMS is complete, does that mean no more changes to the IMS PE as part of this review?
Correct.
And so just for a reminder there, we'll still have the waiver option. The form is there. There will be more accountability to tracking and logging time, but that option's still there.
Correct.
Great. What counts for directed athletics at IMS and Mercer on High School? What's the criteria? Who decides whether an activity meets that requirement? What's that?
I just addressed that one.
Go again.
So it's the principal. At the middle school, I believe it's Aaron Miller. At the high school, it's Nick Wold. And they vet that.
Great. And I know that it involves PE teachers and some others who are in the department if there's question about.
I can totally go back and reiterate that. So as in any content area, the principal, when having to make a determination for what this is like a competency credit for directed athletics. So to determine that that credit has been earned, they work with the department chairs, with the people within the staff members within those departments who are the endorsed professionals in that field to then determine whether or not it sounds like something would meet the needs. I can use an example that happened a couple of years ago. We had an outside vendor for world language that wanted students to receive credit for world language outside of Mercer Island High School. When our principal, counselor, world language department chairs and teachers reviewed the curriculum, the expectations, the number of hours required in the work, they determined that it did not meet the expectations of Mercer Island High School world language course. Therefore, that wasn't signed off on. So there are other people, at the end of the day, it comes down to the principal's signature, they have that authority, but they get lots of inputs when making decisions.
And I think I remember on that one, then there are other providers
Yep.
that they were able to go to, but that particular one didn't meet the threshold for that.
Correct.
Great. Explaining a little bit more about BYU and PE and health. I think BYU is an example of one that we had at one point, and then we went back and reviewed. So how does that work, whether or not it's BYU or ASU or whoever's offering the credit?
So similarly to my answer to the previous question, we periodically go through and we review things that are being offered as part of a review in looking at vendors. So with BYU, it preceded me, but the process was looking at what are the course expectations, what's the follow-up, does it map or align, is there parity with what we expect of our students who take courses here? And it was determined that it was not. So therefore, we no longer offer it. We've had changes over time too with our online providers. Some who just do a canned piece and it doesn't meet our level of expectation or rigor to earn an MIHS diploma. And so we no longer contract with them. But that doesn't mean the students who earned it via BYU, we don't have any still in our system. It's been a number of years, but it doesn't mean that their credits aren't valid. They are already on their transcripts.
So if I got a credit, I think what you're saying is if I got a credit through Western Washington for something, let's just say, and then we decided the next year that course would no longer meet, mine would still count,
Still count.
but going forward would.
Just like any student who's previously taken a summer school PE or health course, it counts those who waived out of 7th grade PE this year. They don't have to go back and take it. Nothing's changed in that regard.
Gotcha. Let's see here. I think I heard you say that summer school option for PE will continue. Can you please confirm one more time?
Yes, there will be an option for summer school PE. It will look different, guaranteed it will look different than 5-minute Zoom check-in and a log. Like that just does not meet the state standards or our standards at all. And we wouldn't do that for any course, no matter what the content. We would not say checking in for 5 minutes online and keeping an independent log would suffice for a credit.
Gotcha. Can you explain how Running Start PE works and whether or not this would be effective?
Sure can. So Running Start is considered part of our district. So when we send schools, we have a direct contract with Running Start. When students take PE through Running Start, so they apply to be a Running Start student, they go through the introduction, they enroll in courses. Those credits are earned and letter grades are put on our transcripts just as if they were attending school here and taking our courses. So just like we do with online classes, we have a relationship with the colleges and Running Start, and their courses meet our level of rigor and expectation.
Great. Let's see where we are here. Why do we need to have a cap at MIHS on the number of credits a student can earn through directed athletics?
So there are some state standards that athletics can't meet. And so there are some things that need to be done in a PE course that just doing it through athletics, like our athletic coaches are wonderful and amazing. They're not trained PE instructors or professionals. So we do have an obligation to ensure that we have covered the standards with students. So we can't put that burden onto our coaches to have an unlimited number. And that is consistent with every district nearby.
That's what I was going to ask is what is Lindsay, our athletic director, starting to find from others, or maybe she already knew of what that was.
To be honest, the one thing that she's finding is that we are very generous in the amount of credit that we give per season. But our kids work really hard, so they get.
There you go. Let's see here. Are you looking at any alternative routes for students to satisfy PE, such as online providers, morning before school offerings, etc., as part of this?
At this point, no, that's not been part of our conversation. Online PE is very similar to like the Zoom check-in. So we're not in that place right now. And it's not emerged with any, as far as morning before school offerings, that's a bigger philosophical question that I think, the school could talk about. There's been changes to our bell schedule. There have been all kinds of things, trying to look at the whole child. And so the more we encroach on, early morning or after school, opportunities, and we're also tapping into that time for sleep, studies, interests, activities, and things like that.
Gotcha. Another question is, will you be covering and looking at the possibility of offering, say, drill team as a class moving forward? So rather than drill being probably before or after school, as a club, would it ever be a class? I haven't heard you talk about that, or if
That
that's
has
come.
not come across my desk at all. So unfortunately, I'm not prepared to answer that. It's not been something that, my response to that would be, I actually didn't know that they met before school. But I think that's a bigger conversation. If we're looking at the whole child, drill fits in with, activities, they earn a directed athletics credit. So that might be something that we need to explore and have conversations about.
What were the 3 ways to weigh PE in 7th and 8th grade? I couldn't hear the third one: religion, disability,
And directed athletics.
Okay, so if they're in an athletic and they get that signed off by Aaron Miller, Mr. Miller, then that's the directed athletics.
Yes,
Okay.
because again, PE, physical activity in grades K8 is a core requirement. And so as such, the state says you must, as a school district, in order to remain compliant, offer it to students. When we, and our PE team at the middle school did extensive research and couldn't find any middle school with a like offering where they waive out PE. So they actually they modeled the form after a high school form, because that's the only place that they were able to find some type of directed athletic tracking that aligned with the RCWs. And so, now I forgot my train of thought. Directed athletics, because we are required as part of the core instruction to provide that physical activity, the form shows, the directed athletic activity. And then a student's got to anticipate the hours that they're doing so that we're certifying when a parent says, yep, my student's engaging in these activities to get this credit, then we can say back to the state, yes, although the student didn't earn this credit through us, we have documentation that shows how they're earning it and they're doing activity.
What counts for directed athletics at IO? Is that what we just did? What are the criteria? Who decides whether an activity meets the requirement? That's the principal at the school who's meeting that. Did we answer that, or was the one above? Oh, will the survey allow us to share our stories? That's right. Will the survey allow us to share our stories or concerns? If not, how can we reach out to you with additional questions, concerns, or thoughts?
There will be an opportunity for input at the end of the survey.
Like an open-ended response.
And I really would encourage people to use that, because that's the format. I don't want us to have anything lost in the mix. That is the data that these review teams will be looking at. So if we have it all in one place, then we don't have to worry about, did I get Fred's email? Did I get Andrew's email? It's all in one place, and then we all have access to the same material.
Great. What else do we have? I do crew, and I'm planning on using a waiver form for high school. It's hard to remember to get my coach to sign it at every practice. Will this process become more simple, similar to the middle school for the high school? I think on the directed athletics piece.
So I'm going to need Nick or Lindsay to answer that one. I didn't know they had to sign off on every practice.
So I would say it sounds like a student could go talk to Ms. Blaine in the athletics office, or make an appointment with Mr. Wolf to discuss that.
But I mean, I think that's a great point, right? We have a number of students who do crew. And so, if they're finding that that's something that's cumbersome on a daily basis, then maybe there are some ways that we can systematize and automatize to ease that burden.
If I am a marching band student and I've been taking the PE class over the summer, and then I'm doing marching band, can that count as part of the homework as my activity as they go forward? I think, in other words, can I talk to my teacher, my summer school teacher, about what are the different types of things that I might be doing for physical activity, whether or not that's marching band, or maybe someone else is playing ultimate frisbee in August or something? Can that type of thing be counted?
I have it. heard that question, yeah, but it's a great question to take back to the summer school team.
Great.
That's for sure. There's band camp for an entire week and there is a whole lot of walking and standing.
We always know school's about to start because the band starts playing. Let's see, what if a student participates in athletic activity that is not offered at Mercer Island High School?
So that goes back to the, we don't offer everything, right? If a student is engaged in fencing, that's not something we offer as a club or an athletic activity. So the student still has the opportunity to get credit. They go through the directed athletic process, much like the student who was referencing the form for crew. There is a form that's completed, they get the requisite signatures and that's submitted for the principal to approve and award that credit. I'll reiterate, it's available for any sport not offered here, unless a student is cut from the sport. So like if they gave that boys soccer example, if a girl tries out for softball and there are cuts in softball, but they join a rec league team, they can still get that credit because they attempted to play at the school event or on the school team, but weren't selected.
To this point, has it been more of an organized athletic activity or something that is more like part of a association or a club or whatnot? Or because I see a question up there about how about mountain biking or ultimate frisbee or other clubs? Do they count towards PE credit?
I would have to ask Nick. I don't believe Mountain Bike Club does, and I'm guessing that's because of the frequency and duration, because it's hard to go all year with Mountain Bike Club. If you think about a sport and you think about the number of hours that are in, like, say, a 14-week season, there's typically 5 or 6 days of practice per week at the start of the season for, say, let's go 2 hours a week. Then on the 3rd week, they start competitions, and that adds, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours on a given night. And so it's a lot of hours, but it's over a 14-week period. I don't know that our mountain bike club would reach commensurate number of hours, meeting say once a week or once every other week for 2 hours for the school year, but it might be. I believe Ultimate, I know that they have received DA credit before. I don't know if it's still a practice here. It was 6 years ago when I was here.
So Mr. Wold would be a good person for that one. I think one thing to remember, especially as we think about PE, is that it's not always just about physical activity, that there are lots of standards that don't have to do with physical activity at all, that have to do with the human body and other aspects. So I know there was that question about how come not all of the credits can be accomplished through directed athletics. And I know that our physical education teachers, I think they would say there's lots that goes into it in terms of talking more about the human body and physical activity than just cardiovascular.
Absolutely.
How are we doing?
We've got some new ones that have come in.
Okay. Can you remind us how much a summer PE and health credit is? I think costs.
Cost-wise, $375, because again, it's self-funded. So we receive no basic ed dollars for summer school. And so it takes into account the cost of the teachers, the building, et cetera. If you're asking how much credit is it, it's 0.5 credit. So it's 1 semester.
So you get 1 semester PE and 1 semester of. And then, can you mention that the PE programs in Mercer offer quality and rigor for students that many outside opportunities do not? Trying to think of what maybe just that the PE programs, in terms of what we offer in our PE programs, I'm not, do you have a sense of that question? Going to our moderators.
It doesn't sound like a question, but more of a comment.
Okay.
Just around the rigor.
Just a reminder that what we do offer is, a rigorous opportunity at athletics or at physical education.
Yeah, I mean, we, like in every subject area, not only do we have state standards, but we also have our own expectations and a level of rigor that the Mercer Island School District prides ourselves on having. And so our teachers do plan robust lessons and activities, and it's not about going out and kicking a ball. That's not what PE is anymore. It's not dodgeball every day. There is instruction that's going on, and there are activities and strategies and things like that. So it's not outside entities. And the reason why it's not just, go run on your own is because we really value the professionals that we have in all content areas. And they've gone through extensive training. They have ongoing professional development. And they are working to not only meet the state standards or national standards in all content areas, but really try to exceed them, because that's become the goal for Mercer Island, is to be a gold standard.
Like others, I've had some trouble hearing the speakers, so apologies if this has been covered. Is the district considering adding a period to the middle school day to allow kids to do fine arts plus language plus PE? I really wish, but we're not looking at that right now. A 7-period day in many middle schools actually in our region, even as high schools have gone to it, really it's a cost prohibitive issue for school districts. As we've said in our webinar a couple weeks ago on the state of funding in Washington, we're not even getting funded enough to do what we're already trying to do. And so it's really a cost issue in terms of being able to add another day. We do, interestingly, what other districts don't do is, I can think of our fine arts with our choir, our PE, and our orchestra. That 5th grade add that we do. So 5th grade kind of has that 0 period, if you will. They start their day at the middle school and then they're transported there. That's all funded by the district in terms of levies and other areas. That is not funded by the state. So we've stretched it in a lot of areas, but a 6-period day to a 7-period day is just unfortunately not in the cards right now.
And Fred, just to clarify, we already are stretched by offering 7 periods at the high school, right?
Sure.
So, we wouldn't, because high school has the 24 grad requirements, taking any funding there to try to move to a 7-period day at the middle school would then eliminate actual high school credit. So that's not even in the conversation. We don't want to touch the 7-period day at high school.
That really set us up well when the state went from 21 to 24 credits. A number of districts who were 7-period day districts were really concerned, because if you've got 6 periods in your day for 4 years, a kid doesn't have any off periods, or they can't make any real mistakes and then try to catch up later on. So the 7-period day is advantageous for the high school, especially with 24 credits.
It is. And when you go back to the statement of, what's the purpose, the core purpose of summer school, it's credit recovery. Fortunately for our students, they've got a few extra periods throughout their high school career for missed credit opportunities. But oftentimes, unfortunately, a student who fails one course is more likely to fail multiples. So having that summer school credit retrieval as the priority for summer school allows students to graduate on time. So we have a very high on-time graduation rate. And part of that is due to our 7-period day for credit recovery and summer school opportunities.
And then, when does registration for summer school start? Before or after the registration for high school?
So high school registration closes tomorrow. Summer school registration is not open until mid-April. So we open it in mid-April. Students have, typically we get early registrations for those eager to enroll for either enrichment opportunities or those who want to take PE and health to free up other opportunities in the school year. And it's really, as we get towards June, where students are realizing they may not be passing courses. And that's where we get the most registrations for some of those recovery courses. So although somebody might register in April, we may not be able to confirm whether or not we're able to offer it until early June, once we get a better sense of how many students are going to need recovery services.
And let's see, like to request that the school district review and change the name of the required health course at MIHS. It's called Image, but at curriculum night, the teacher told the parents that no one knows why that's the name. Regardless, that is how the course appears on the transcript. No one who's looking at Image thinks that it's a health class and it's required course. So is there consideration of changing any of the names, I guess, or maybe that's input to your team around
That's great.
that particular class.
Like I said, we're kind of separating PE and health just for some pretty specific health curricular needs, starting in March. So I can take that question back to that team, and just talk about, why we have it, what it means, what the implications are of a transcript from a student or parent level, and go from there.
And will the waiver process be the same at the middle school? And that's yes, it's the same, but there will be, the form has changed to have more accountability to the number of minutes and tracking what a student has done. So it's not quite the same as just fill out the form and have my parents sign at the end. I really do need to track my time. So what I'm turning in actually captures the full experience that I've had outside of PE.
Yep. So the state requires that we put PE as part of the core curriculum in K-8. They do have a provision in their RCWs that allows for a waiver. And that waiver can be for one of three reasons. It's religious, it's disability, or it's directed athletics. If your student qualifies in one of those three areas, you mark the box. If it's directed athletics that they're participating in, then you list the coach or advisor, the anticipated number of hours for that activity. Parent and student sign it, it's submitted to IMS. And once that's received, it's like the waiver form has been previously. There's just a level of accountability so that if an auditor were to come and say, show me your waivers, show me that your students are meeting one of the three criteria, we've got documentation.
Can you go back to the slide? I think we have a hyperlink for that.
Oh, sorry, can you go ahead now?
If you go here. Tomorrow, somewhere around the middle of the day, we will have this recording as well as this presentation. This is a hyperlink on our presentation, so you'll be able to click on it if you have questions around that for that waiver. And
I apologize. I think towards the end of the webinar, we may have mistakenly said that registration closes tomorrow. It is March 8th, not tomorrow.
Oh, sorry, for high school?
For high school.
Okay. Sorry.
I saw you just
gotcha, March 8th.
March 8th, right?
My bad.
Great.
Yep.
And then we also have some links here. This is our graduation requirement page. And so you'll be able to click on here and then take a look at the grad requirements for not just these three areas, but actually all of them if you're curious. So these will be hyperlinked in the presentation that we send out and make public tomorrow.
We also, this webinar is recorded. In doing so, the chat is recorded. So everything shared out tonight, even though we may not have seen every question, it's been captured via the chat, and we can take that back to the various groups to use in our continued conversations.
So want to thank everyone for joining tonight. Hopefully this answered a lot of questions or at least brought people up to speed of where we are in the process with this review. Want to thank you, Jamie, and the team. I know you were meeting today. I got to join for a little while and you're continuing to meet. Thank you, Andreves and RJ. And then to our collators of questions, Gwen, Michael, and Leslie. So from all of us to you, have a great evening and go MI.